What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Jacked Ramsays post-game show. I'm your host, Danny Marang, joined as always by maybe a Beaver believer right now. Maybe.
They're up 14, so we'll see. This is starting to get really uncomfortable. It feels very similar to something I just watched where a team had a huge lead and should have won a game by 20, and they ended up needing some last-minute possessions to secure a dub.
Yeah, well, you know, it is what it is. It's the cardiac kids are back in play. Ladies and gentlemen, the Blazers declare victory is tonight's headline. Blazers 118, 76ers 111. A lot dicier than you want it to be, as you said, Mr. Sprague. Obviously, the big takeaway is Damian Lillard. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Mike Umscheid in the chat says, Larry. Listen, there's a lot to talk about. I will say this. I just had this come across the wire. Chauncey Billups in the pregame press conference. He was asked again about Portland again closing with Larry Nance at the 5 instead of Jusuf Nurkic. And Chauncey had this to say. I thought having Larry in there, having a switch 1 through 5 and not get in rotation would be an advantage. At the end of the day, I'm just trying to get the win however we can get it.
AKA, I don't care, Nurk. I'm not interested. Throw your mouthpiece elsewhere.
Because let's be honest here. Chauncey knows Nurk was not happy.
I mean, everybody knew Nurk was not happy. You throw a mouthpiece, it's impossible not to notice that.
You know, I want to go into the Dame stuff, so we'll do that first. I don't want to get into the Nurk
stuff.
Sit
Dame, don't play Dame.
Hey, listen, everybody's like, he's going to drop 50 now. Cool. If I have to look like the a-hole, I will willingly dive into that every single time, dude. Yeah. Eric Fendel says, I felt like that was a real quiet 39 for Dame. I did too. I was like, I looked down. I was like, I feel like he's been to the line a lot. And I looked down. I'm like, God dang, he's been to the line a dozen times.
Yeah.
Real quick, before we dive into the individual stuff, I thought this game was horribly officiated.
Oh, it was a joke.
Horribly officiated.
I was sitting on my couch, Daddy, trying not to be a Sixer apologist. I'm like, oh, poor Sixers, man. I feel sorry for them.
They got screwed on more than a couple calls tonight. I thought a couple went against Portland where I was like, well, that could have gone either way. Seth Curry leaving a little extra on CJ's chin definitely deserved to go back the other way. It wasn't a normal just clearing space Euro step.
Right.
That elbow came up a little perpendicular to the ground. So,
right.
But let's get into it. Let's get into the fun, Mr. Sprague. Obviously, the Blazers win, which is always fun, but it's even more fun when it's done with their captain, Damian Lillard. Season high, has a monster game, 39.7 assists. Didn't register a rebound, which I thought was kind of weird. But 10 of 21, so good. You look at his field goal distribution, 5 of 14 from 3. Number one, he got himself a ton of threes up, which is kind of one of those signs of, hey, maybe he is feeling a little bit better. Maybe he did get more Toradol.
Well, let's wait and see how he looks physically next game. I think you get a night off, and I think what we've kind of seen with him is his ebbs and flows of the year. It's if he gets a night or two off, he tends to come back and physically look better.
Yeah.
But then it's the next game where it still doesn't continue. The consistency hasn't quite established itself. I really liked what he did tonight. And I disagree with you and the listener there. I felt like he was that important. Like, I don't know if I would have said 39, 41, 35, but he was impactful. I felt like he was 30. It was a very impactful 30 plus points tonight.
Yeah, it's just one of those situations where he had a monster game, and I felt like he didn't force anything tonight. I thought maybe one shot tonight felt like it wasn't right in the flow, what needed to happen, when it needed to happen, where it needed to happen. And that's probably the first time I've seen that from him this season, where it felt good. Again, shot distribution, 2/3 of his shots, 14 of 21 shots were threes. And he didn't take one of those threes. You're like, oh, come on, man, not there. It was just good. And I thought that was a nice part of this. The other part of it, obviously, is getting downhill, getting to the free throw line a ton. And this is obviously before, getting sent to the line from, in the bonus to close the game out. He was still getting to the line, generating contact. And 10 of 21, again, take the 14 threes out. That means he's 5 of 7 from twos.
Mm-hmm.
So good shot diet of getting to the rim, mid-range pull-ups, attacking from three off the pick and roll. And I thought overall tonight, a lot of Damian Lillard working less on the ball or for shorter bursts. In the first half, Damon CJ led the team in field goal attempts by a pretty significant margin, and most of the playmaking was done by Nance, Nurk, and Ant.
Yeah.
And that was kind of what was setting guys up most of the night.
Yeah. I think the thing about Dame, though, too, to go back to the impact stuff, I think the reason for me, just me personally, why it felt so impactful is because he's been so off and so unlike himself that when he has a night like this, that's still even, like, points-wise okay, but shooting efficiency-wise, still not even what Dame has been in the past.
Mm-hmm.
For him to be able to have this kind of night, that's where I'm sitting on my couch and I'm watching this game and I'm like, man, if you're going to get 35 plus from Dame and you're going to shoot 44% from three, oh yeah, that's right. You tend to win most of those basketball games.
Here's the flip side of this. You had a really good Dame game, your first of the season, and a win's a win. I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth, but I'm going to go a little downer Danny a little bit because this is a team missing most of its starting lineup, most of its offensive firepower, its MVP, on a road trip where they've been, they lost 5 of their last 6.
Yeah.
And you couldn't put them away. Not a fan. Not a fan of that at all. I thought CJ was out of sorts the entire second half after being on fire in that first half.
I was almost gonna text you like, hey, my Lovett's having quite the response tonight. And then
he was
second half
cooking in the first half.
I know, but the second half I'm like, oh yeah, he's on the court.
Yeah, I think he tried to pick up where he left off at halftime. And if you look back and if you watch that third quarter when he had the mixed unit in there where normally that bench unit does really well, I thought they faded going into that third where they closed the gap and then obviously in the beginning of the fourth quarter. And CJ was a big part of that. And I was sitting there watching it going, everything you're doing right now. I had a few NBA folks text me with the, he worked in the catch and shoot in the first half, and now it's dribble because he didn't get enough dribbles in the first half. And I was like, oh, come on, cut him a little more slack than that. But as I watched, I was like, oh, no, that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, he's it's unfortunate because when he's in a rhythm mode, he's fun to watch. When he's in try to cook you, dribble mode, he has his nights where he gets hot, but he has a lot of moments where like you kind of just shrug your shoulders and go, I don't think that was the best use of your possession. And it's unfortunate, too, because I thought he really got off to a great start. I thought he was really instrumental in help setting that tone. But to go from the third quarter to the fourth and you were only up 8, I was like, this doesn't feel right. Mm-hmm. It feels like this 8-point lead should be more of a 16-point lead. Yeah. Like the way they were just playing tonight versus the Sixers were, a lot of their 3-point guys were just cold. It just, on those kind of nights, I'm with you. Like, you want to see them bury a team like that when you got them on the ropes.
Because here's the thing. The 2 guys who could score for this team off the bounce regularly, that's the 2 guys you worried about. You didn't slow them down at all.
Yeah.
Harris and Maxey. Maxey had a game. He got where he wanted, when he wanted, and finished through contact. I've watched him play not against Portland more than a handful of times over the last year and a half. And it seems like every time I tune in to watch the guy, he does something where his body control, I'm trying to think of who he reminds me of. Maybe Lou Williams. Remember how Lou Will in his prime years would get to the free throw line and hit just a truckload of and ones, and you're like, how does his little ass stay up? Because you see guys get hit and go to the ground or he just always seems to keep his core squared up to the rim.
Yeah.
And somehow just have great touch over and over and over. And tonight, man, I think he had 4 and ones where every single one of them was just wow. And he kept them in all night.
Yeah, the English on the ball that he can put on, too, off the glass to watch that thing spin. I think it would have been Larry that fouled him, and he hit it way off the glass, kind of fading out, and it hit the rim, but the spin was so significant that it hit the rim and spun back and went in. He got the N1. He was one of those during the summer people were talking about. if Ben was going to get traded, he might get attached to it too because of the Rich Paul stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking in the moment, like whoever can end up, if that's real and they can snag
Maxey and
Simmons,
Simmons, that's a hell of a combo.
you're getting away. That's grand theft, man. Like you are stealing from somebody. I loved him last year. I know he's still battling to put the consistency together, but tonight he showed you an example of why, if you were able to acquire him, you'd probably feel pretty good about your future.
So between Harris and Maxey tonight, they shot 20 of 38, 3 of 8 from 3, 13 of 14 from the free throw line, gave you 11 rebounds, 12 assists, 2 steals, combined 5 turnovers, although Harris had all 5. He got caught in the air a few times tonight, particularly in the fourth quarter where he got screwed. And 56 points? I think on most nights that's probably a winning effort. But you look down at the roster, 41 of 81, which we'll talk about that with Portland. The 76ers still hit a truckload of shots. It's just they were 10 of 28, not quite good enough from 3.
Yes.
19 of 21 for the free throw line, only 11 turnovers, 24 personal fouls. They racked up a ton at the back end. But Portland wins another game where their offense carries them, not their defense.
I thought they had well, I'll get to that in a second. I was just going to say, we talked about this before we went live, really, and this is, how close the league can be. I saw Doc already made the make or miss league line, but you're what, 3, maybe 4 threes made by Seth and Korkmaz alone from this game, maybe feeling
and both those guys struggled.
Different. They struggled. Those are your 2 best 3-point shooters. You struggled. On the defensive thing, like I'm largely with you. The offense is really what carried you through. I thought they had some really good defensive possessions tonight,
opportunistic.
though. Very opportunistic. Yes. And before Philly went on that 16-2 run, I think you were feeling really good about what they were showing you defensively. But then they allowed that run, and they kind of went back into their old ways. But I'm not going to completely trash their defense because they had so many possessions where I just really enjoyed seeing them play.
Yeah, no, I would chalk this up as one of probably the top 3 most enjoyable games of the season so far. You had Dame doing stuff. You had CJ cooking in the first half. You had Nurk willingly dunking. That was mind-blowing. But let's get into the energy guy of the night, and I think something we'll spend a ton of time talking about on the mailbag pod tomorrow. So everybody's going to, should Nassir Little be starting? Should Nassir Little be starting? I am going to go really corny. I'm going to really piss you off. And this is Nassir Little, Nassir, like Tigger. Just bouncy, 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 fun, 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 fun. That is Nassir Little right now. When he takes off to dunk, he is looking to catch bodies.
Yes,
he's
trying to rip the rim off.
Every single time, and
yes.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It doesn't matter if anybody's... He took off, and you can tell when somebody wants to just tear the rim down because they don't take off flat. They take off at an angle, leaning way forward. And this is where I draw the Gerald Wallace comparisons. Because Crash dunked the same way, which is also why he crashed a ton, because he got undercut or knocked off balance in midair.
Yeah.
Please don't do that to my kid. But Nas, 11 points, 4 rebounds, 5 of 7. I think that does a poor job of encapsulating what he did tonight.
Well, he's had a lot of those nights though, where we watch him and I'm not wowed, but I'm very much like, yes, like I feel great about where he's going. And then I'll look at the box score and I'll go, what? And it doesn't quite feel right. And I don't know how to maybe explain that. Maybe at some point this thing will even out and the stats will look a little better. But there's a couple things about him. One, the violence in which he chooses to dunk is sensational. I'm not trying to be hyperbole here, but he's the most athletic physical presence they've had on the wings since who? Who would you go? Gerald Wallace?
Since Gerald Wallace.
That's been a long time.
If you want to say Wes, but Wes didn't get downhill.
He couldn't do this. He couldn't dunk like that.
Nick could, but it was slithery and finessey. Like he could throw down a hammer, but as far as like build and ferocity, it is Gerald. Gerald Wallace is the last guy that they had on this roster which is, people are like, well, what about Mo? Well, if Mo actually had a motor, I'd say yes, but Mo just, number one, you don't trust him unless it's a clear path for a takeoff, and 2, he kind of just through a lot of games. So,
well,
Gerald.
So Gerald, so you have to go back to Gerald. And the other thing about him is not only do you know he's going to bring the energy, you know he's active defensively. You know that if he's on the court, there's a really good chance you're going to get an offensive rebound. I mean, this dude is crashing the glass.
His rebound rate is one of the best in the league for a wing right now.
See, I wouldn't have said best in the league, but that's great to hear because I feel like I'm watching somebody who gives a crap. And that's nice to have.
The big part about that is it's a really dumb thing when you talk about raw rebounding numbers in today's NBA because there's so many 3-point shots. The necessity for having a big who gobbles up rebounds around the rim isn't as much of a thing because you get with more threes, you get longer rebounds. There's more dispersion of rebounds, so you get more guards and wings grabbing rebounds. However, one of the things that I'm looking at I wanted to get up to 20 games. So I'm trying to get there, so there's a little bit more oomph to it. But Naz's rebound rate on contested rebounds and on offensive rebounds. That's the thing. Can you win a loose ball rebound where it looks like the defense has got things boxed out and he comes out of nowhere and he's, whoop, this is mine. Mm-hmm. Can you win one where on the defensive glass, guys are, crashing the offensive glass and you come out of nowhere and save your big man or save your guards who are leaking out? What's really an interesting dynamic in this is that if Nas hits the glass on both sides, it does take away from his ability both defensively, getting back and being, a big body on the backside. Also, it precludes him from running out offensively.
Right.
So that's kind of an interesting dynamic to see how they play that and what units or when he frequently goes to hit the glass. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I think he hits the right notes as far as when to hit the glass and when not. And particularly if it's the Snell, Nassir, Nance lineup, those are the opportunities I want to see him go because you do have some more athleticism. You can take advantage of some things in that regard.
Right.
But this is one of those things where I think for the most part it's working really well, and it's kind of a found money situation. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a guy that him and Ant were young players, not really getting much shine, much run. And then Ant got some minutes last year, but we didn't really get to see Nas. He was hurt. He had COVID. And, those were two wild cards coming into the year that if they were able to get actual minutes and step up to that opportunity, you were going to feel like they were two additions from your offseason, even though they've been here now for a couple of years. So, look, there is no doubt, and I don't know if you wanted to talk about Ant at all, but they both got more minutes tonight. And, if you wanted to say that Cove could have got a couple less minutes and Ant could have, Nas could have got a couple more, I wouldn't be mad at that. But it's nice to know you can give both your young players 20-plus minutes and maybe still feel like they should play even more.
Yeah, and I didn't do a lower third for Ant tonight because the box score stuff, I mean, it was okay. I saw somebody asked about Ant struggling from three. If you guys look close, he's got his hand wrapped. He's fighting a little something with his hand right now. So, somebody in the chat says, "Are we really acting like Nassir Little is Jerome Kersey with 4 flipping rebounds? Cantor gets that one possession." Again, it's opportunistic rebounding, and if you look at rebound rate and minutes, he's incredibly good for the position and for his size.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to pretend he's any great former Blazer ever. I'm just sitting here telling you guys that like when he's out there, there's a good chance you could get another possession with him on the offensive end, or that he's going to be in the mix to grab the board as an athletic 6'5" player.
He got 2 offensive rebounds tonight.
That's nice.
That's a very good number for a wing.
It's not bad.
And he continues to do that. Like that's a real thing, and that's what matters.
Yeah.
Those are extra possessions. But as far as Ant's game tonight, there's 2 things that I liked. Well, actually 3, but one's kind of in the same vein. One, he put the pressure on the defense. He got downhill. He had 5 or 6 drives. He got to the line a couple times tonight. He did miss some layups, and I thought he was going to his left because he's not trusting his right hand a ton. And he hasn't been great finishing with his left throughout his career. It's something he's still working on. But I also think he finished with 3 assists, right? Yeah, 3. I thought he had an opportunity for 5 or 6 tonight. Guys just missed some shots. Dame had that one shot tonight where I thought I was like, that's kind of a weird shot when he had that kind of fadeaway corner 3. instead of taking it when Ant first got it to him. But otherwise, I thought Ant's floor game was really good offensively as far as getting guys in the right spots at the right time and setting guys up and allowing Dame and CJ to kind of play off ball in that first half. But the flip side on the other end of the floor, that's what I actually liked from Ant tonight. Defensively, he was picking up Maxey at 80 feet, making him work a little bit harder. You look at Maxey's minutes tonight, Maxey finished with 35. Not getting a whole lot of rest, and if you can make him work a little bit harder, make a shot a little bit tougher, I like that. One of those things that I like to see. Otherwise, yeah, I think he needs to get the hand taken care of, the wrist taken care of, and kind of figure that whole thing out and figure it out from there. But his floor game overall, any thoughts?
I mean, he was fine. He wasn't awful. He wasn't as efficient from a scoring perspective. I know there's more to the game than just that, and that's fine. But I didn't think he was great. I didn't think he was bad. He was just kind of
good.
Okay.
Just found a way to contribute in a night when his shot wasn't really falling. Just kind of 20 minutes in here now. Just want to take a quick moment. Thank you all for coming in. Appreciate you. We've already crossed our 2,000 subscribers barrier that we're trying to get by Thanksgiving. So thank you all so very much. If you haven't already, please subscribe. If you're new to the channel, and subscribe. If you're a return viewer but you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. We'd love to have you here. Also, you can find the Jack Ramsays podcast available wherever you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever it may be. Like, rate, review, subscribe. Do all of the things. Before we get into the Nurk stuff, I want to give somebody else some love. You know who I want to give some love to?
Who?
Norman freaking Powell. And the headline for him tonight is Just Keep Driving, Just Keep Driving. Very much Finding Nemo, just because he just gets down a hill.
Yeah.
He just does. He just is that dude. When things are going wrong, when it kind of got a little bit wonky there in the fourth quarter, there was Norm to finish through contact. There was Norm again knocking down another shot. And you're like, 17, 1 rebound, 2 assists, 6 of 11, 4 of 4. Nothing that's just like, oh my God, where would we be without Norm? But then you look at it and you're like, oh, they would have lost this game without Norm.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I hope nobody's doing that. Why, where would they be without Norm? Like, yeah, we'd be screwed without Norm Powell this year. Dude's been awesome. I know the stats might not line up where some people outside of Portland go, oh, look at those numbers for that contract. But if you haven't been paying attention to Portland, then you don't know the story. And the story is Norm Powell, in many instances, is the reason they're either staying within striking distance or helping to build leads at some point.
Norm Powell is a human metronome.
Yes.
Just tick, 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 tick. And that's what he has been for this team. And that has been a huge, 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 huge advantage for this team. It's like, listen, when there's been a bunch of variance with basically everybody else on the roster, he hasn't. He's been that guy. And God, it's just, and his attitude is the same way. He's just locked in. He comes in. He competes. He's never going to. How many times have you watched the game with Norm Powell on the floor and go, oh no, Norm's taking a possession off?
Never. I mean, he might because he can see CJ's clearly going to try to cook or Dame, but like,
he'll take it off offensively.
Yeah, not defensively.
It's just one of those things where it doesn't really happen, which is really impressive in today's NBA.
Yeah.
But like he's the unsung hero of this team, I think, right now. He just shows up. Okay. It's time.
Yeah.
Jusuf Nurkic had a really good game. 11 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. In his shifts, man, he was impactful. You felt his presence. They started the game again with the LaMarcus Aldridge play.
Yeah.
It was a little disjointed, but he gathered himself, scored inside, and you could see the ego boost go whoop, like somebody hit the NOS just straight into his ego. He's like, I'm going to play now. And his first long shift, he played really well.
Yeah. No, I thought he played. He was my like it tonight because I thought tonight was a gut check moment for him, Danny. I thought that was a game for him mentally that he really needed because Andre Drummond beat him like a drum the last time that they played. And while again the stats might not pop off the screen, he was so impactful for them both sides. He meant a lot when he put the minutes in. They were minutes that Portland really needed. So I thought it was big for his psyche. We can talk about obviously what happened in the fourth quarter, but prior to that, I was thinking this was a night that Jusuf Nurkic was going to drive home and probably feel really good about himself.
Yeah, Evan James in the chat brings up a point that I brought up on Twitter multiple times tonight. Nurk played slow, and by that I mean good. Slow is steady, steady is smooth, smooth is fast.
Yes. Yes.
Anybody who has ever heard any military sniper talk as far as how to process, that is where that comes from. And I thought he took his time, and that's not necessarily a bad thing when you're taking your time and you're under control and you understand your process flow. Mm-hmm. And I thought tonight he understood, he knew the assignment. Make the right read, play under control, do the right things.
Yeah.
He was effective around the rim tonight. You look at Andre Drummond was 3 of 3, 23 minutes, 6 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 fouls. Jusuf Nurkic, 5 of 6, 11 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, 1 turnover. Only real sore spot was the 4 fouls. Mm-hmm. But he outplayed Drummond. He was more impactful than Drummond, which, yeah, no shit. He should be.
Yeah, but Danny, let's not act like no shit should exist. What happened the last time they played?
That's what I mean, but that's the frustrating part of this, right? Is you're just like, yeah, you're a better player than him, dude. Like, why was this an issue in the first place?
Well, I think it goes into the mouth throwing thing, the mouth guard.
Let's go to it. The Blazers are in a tight game. Jusuf Nurkic has made a couple big plays in the fourth quarter, comes over, bails out. Was it Dame or CJ on Tobias on the switch?
Pretty sure it was CJ.
I think it was CJ as well. Nurk came over and gets a monster block on Tobias Harris. And you could see him, a little shoulder swag, reset the possession. Ball goes to the sideline. Nurk comes up, they trap. Gets a little too reachy, overextends, which typically happens when what, Brandon?
When you get tired.
Okay, that has kind of been the Nurkic MO.
Yeah.
The second he committed that foul, Chauncey, Larry, there was zero hesitation in that. Zero hesitation in that.
None whatsoever.
Chauncey's like, no, I've seen this shit before. Nope. Ants is in. Nurk immediately throws his mouthpiece, is barking and yelling at no one in particular. Dame goes over to console him, walks away, possession ensues. The camera's still on Nurk, and he's talking to nobody in particular, but he's pissed.
Yeah. No, he was super pissed. He threw the mouth guard, and then he got to the bench, and he turned around, and I think it was, God, it might have been Cody was next to him.
Cody was next to him, and Cody was kind of like,
but Cody was like, I don't want to talk to you right now. Like, let's not do this. And he just kept talking to himself. And then Dame quickly comes over and
Dame tried to like, hey, big fella, you had a good shift. You had a good game. We're up. Chill the bleep out. And he did whatever he said it in like 4 seconds. Like, I gotta go. Like, we'll handle this later.
Yeah.
And that's the dichotomy of Jusuf Nurkic, man.
Yep.
You had a good game. You were impactful. Touches-wise, like, you had 6 shots. You had 3 assists. In the minutes you played, you had a shot every other minute.
Yeah.
Like, what more do you want?
Look, I don't know where this conversation goes. I don't know if this is a mailbag thing, but I talked about this with the Houston game. Like, if you can't be happy for your team in a winning moment when your team hasn't been the most consistent winner out there, there's clearly something going on. And I think this all still stems from being told that he's going to be used as Nikola Jokic and the offense is all going to flow through him. And, I'm going to be in the best shape of my life. And the games start, and that quickly goes the other direction. And I really legitimately think he bought into that was going to happen in a contract year, and it hasn't. And this is the frustration you see, whether they win or lose. He has shown in moments of both that he tends to get a little frustrated.
And here's the thing, and somebody brought this up in the chat. If he could be productive over 30 minutes and not have these major drop-offs when he gets tired, he could stay out there. Mm-hmm. And I've seen the idea that, well, he's just not in shape. I'm going to push back on that a little bit because he was 330 pounds when he got here from Denver. He's down to 280-ish, 280, 285. The dude has shed a lot of weight. And here's the thing. He's a better player at the 315, 320 range.
I've long believed that, but the dude wants to be a little slimmer. I'm not going to fault him for it.
Biomechanically, he needs to be.
Sure.
He has not learned how to play lighter. And while his conditioning has gone up, he's just that big. Like, Embiid's a freak. And he's the most ridiculous big dude outside of Shaq maybe in NBA history. A guy who's a legit 300-plus pound dude who can play 30, 40 minutes a night and just go. And considering his medical history, that's bonkers. Like, Jokic is down to like 255, 260 now. He's a lot smaller than Nurk. Don't get me wrong, he's strong, but he's not as big as Nurk is, and Jokic isn't dealing with two legs that have both been broken.
Mm-hmm.
So there's detrimental stuff in there. And so I get where Chauncey's coming from, but I get where Nurk is coming from too. But I think Chauncey has struck the right balance.
I don't get where Nurk's coming from.
How so?
Well, I mean, okay, tell me what the problem is then. Like, tell me the Nurk side that you get, because dude, he got 24 minutes tonight. He was very impactful. You picked up a bad fourth foul. Larry's also been very good. Like, I guess I'm just not seeing it. It's as if this guy should be dropping numbers much larger than what he is on a statistical basis. And I just think the overall averages and years tell us that that's not the case. Like, he's being used properly, and he's allowing his own personal
desires
to trump really what's working best for the team. So I guess I don't see that his side. I just don't see that at all.
When I say I see his side, I'm more of the sense of like, I want to do more, but because it's a contract year. But here's the thing. Let's go and sort seasons right now. We'll go to Basketball Reference real quick. You know what Nurkic's field goal percentage is right now, or coming into tonight?
Is it 61?
Overall 56.2, which is
so not quite 60 yet. Then
but 5 points higher than his career high.
Right.
He is hitting as many shots this year as he was last year. So he's at 4.3 makes the game right now. He was at 4.6 last year. But he took 1.5 more shots to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And the flip side is his free throw percentage. He's hitting 2.4. Last year he was at 1.9. He's taking 3.2. He was taking 3.1 last year. So his free throw percentage is up 15%. Meanwhile, his rebounding, 11.2 last year, 9.0 this year. So he's significantly more efficient across the board, more steals. The only thing that's down is the blocks, and that's a scheme thing because he's away from the rim more defensively. But if you look at like his per 36 numbers, it's like, yeah, dude, your per 36 numbers right now are 17, 17, and 3.
Yeah, so I guess I'm just asking, like, again, where's the frustration? Because if you're going to be a bad attitude player on a decent team, I can't imagine that's going to earn you more money than being efficient, big team player, happy guy.
It's not a great look.
Teams love culture, right? Like, I hated that term when, like, DeMarcus Cousins was great with Kings and maybe the Blazers could get him. We're like, well, he's not good for culture. I'm like, F out of here with this culture stuff. You need as many good players, great players as you can get. But I'll say this, a lot of teams value culture, and I'm not saying Nurk can't be a good culture guy. He's been here for 6 years, and he's been in some good cultures, but I don't think that stuff reflects better on you to have a bad attitude on a good night with a decent team than high five, be frustrated with yourself by committing a fourth foul, but just go with the flow and do what you can when you play. Good attitude teammate guy.
Here's the thing. If you want to give benefit of the doubt, you could say that Nurk was pissed off that he took a ticky-tack foul.
Mm-hmm. Which I think he was. He was probably super pissed. Like, damn it, because he probably knew if he committed that foul, he was going to come out. Yeah.
So
maybe it wasn't even at Chance. Maybe it was at himself, and Dame was just like, hey, stay engaged in case we need you in the next 4 minutes.
And here's the thing. I'm not looking for Nurk to be a problem or an issue or anything along those lines. Like, I want him to be good. because he is impactful. He's such a big body. He gives them something they don't have. But God dang it, man, the frustration stuff like boiling over. Again, Chauncey's first comments tonight were like, hey, yeah, no, I went with Nance because I thought he gave us the best opportunity. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty telling statement.
Yeah.
Let's hit on Nance real quick.
And he's not wrong, by the way.
Because it allows him to be more versatile with things.
Right, and unless you're playing Joel Embiid, Jokic, a guy of that caliber, most nights it's going to be fine.
Yes. You look at, the big body stuff, and it's like, you can just kind of figure it out, right? It's not a big deal. But it's, I don't know, man. It's frustrating. That's where I'm at right now. I'm just like, because I want Nurk to be so much more than he is.
Sure, but there's there's a few obvious things that are frustrating about this team, despite them winning 3 games in a row.
Overall, what was your takeaway from this game?
Much better effort defensively than a lot of their other games this year, and good balance, I think, from most of the people who got meaningful minutes. Cove, meh tonight for me, really. And CJ obviously not as great in the second half as he was in the first, but it kind of felt like the people who played real minutes had a meaningful impact in some way, which is great because it's not like you've had a lot of those nights.
Had a comment here. Eric B says, here's the thing. You guys are so far off what's actually happening. Nurk is not the story tonight. Nobody's saying that's the story tonight. We spent about 15 minutes talking about Damian Lillard dropping 39 points. I'd suggest getting here for the beginning of the show. For that.
If Eric just logged in, then yeah, I bet that's probably what the takeaway is. But no, we went almost 30 minutes without talking about Nurk at all.
Yeah, so it's just something that's going to pop up as it plays to everything that he can do, and he should give you more. And that's the thing about Nurk. And here's the thing, as I wanted to say, Nance, like his stat line tonight wasn't crazy. 7 points, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, but I thought he was very impactful, and his 2 missed shots were the 2 little. He's got a little Nurk in him. He's got that stupid push shot that he goes to, and it's like, don't get cute, don't do that, because tonight he finished 3 shots. Were they all dunks?
I think they were all dunks.
Because you had the reverse, the drive,
which was filthy, by the way.
Okay, I'm gonna go sideways real quick. How the living hell does C.J. McCollum throw a 35-foot alley-oop pass on a dime to a back-cutting Larry Nance who can reverse dunk it while being trapped, and then throws that one to Anthony Simons and misses by 8 goddamn feet?
What do we say about broken? What do we say about broken clocks?
It was so. Like, I thought he was going to throw he was going to Roethlisberger Anthony Simons. He was going to throw him into a linebacker. And it was like, oh, no. Oh, God. Oh,
no, Danny, I'm serious. What do we say about broken clocks?
I know,
because
right?
I think when this team throws lobs, that's what it is.
They're both Dame and CJ. They're both terrible lob passers. They're 2 worst lob passers of high-scoring guards I've ever seen. And I mean that with the utmost prejudice. But they're better lob passers the further away they are from the rim.
Right.
It's weird. It's a weird, weird, weird thing.
Maybe they don't have that touch.
Again, I have my whole...
Close touch can sometimes be harder than that distance.
Gives you a little bit more range.
Yes.
I told you my theory, right? The whole, they didn't grow up playing in those same AAU circuits, so they didn't play with all those high-flying athletes. So they never learned how to do it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I imagine Dame and CJ didn't play with a lot of those guys.
No, they didn't play on, the high-level EYBL and ABCD
right.
camp guy. That's not what... They went to Lehigh and Weber State. They weren't those dudes. And so they crafted their game below the rim and not the other way around. So I just... somebody was asking, is CJ the best lobber now, being sarcastic. And somebody actually, Michael Jajan, beat me in the comments, and it's Dennis Smith Jr. Dennis Smith Jr. is the best lob passer on this team because
DSJ, baby.
He was a guy who grew up on those circuits playing with all of the absolutely ridiculous athletes. They take care of the 76ers. They get above 500. They're 9-8. They rely on their offense. They got enough production from the team on the whole to where they figured some things out.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But between now and the end of November, Denver, and then a 3-game road trip at Sacramento, at Golden State, at Utah, and then you button up November with Detroit. Not bad. Now you got a back-to-back on Utah home. At Utah at home against Detroit. That's kind of wonky. That's definitely a schedule problem. You can come home on a back-to-back and at the end of a road trip and think, we can take care of Detroit and they can punch you in the face. Please do not let that happen. But you, sir, you predicted this team to win 5 straight games.
Yep.
You have got 3 of those 5 now.
I'm going to get 4 because they'll beat Denver, and then we know that they're going to beat...
You're feeling really spicy about that Denver game, aren't you?
I think they're such a different team at home, even in nights like tonight where they play really well and then they blow big leads. I don't know. There's a belief in this team at home versus if this was back in Denver, I wouldn't have that same feel. But I also think they're kind of catching a groove right now together. It's not perfect, but
and it's at home.
I feel like they're catching a groove. So sleeping in their own beds has been great. I think they beat Denver. I think they beat Sacramento, who's got throw up on their court. And then I think the Golden State game is where they lose their winning streak because Golden State is, dear God, a nightmare scenario for everybody.
I'm going to throw one worse at you.
Okay.
They're going to go to Sacramento. They're going to lose, and then they're going to beat Golden State.
Oh, that is, for my 5-game win streak and beating Denver spicy take that you like to say, that's super spicy.
This team plays like crap on the road, and they play like crap in Sacramento.
No. It's not the Sacramento loss. It's you thinking they're beating Golden State.
I think Golden State is they're playing so well that they're playing above board. Here's the thing.
Oh, I disagree.
Well,
Steph is the new Chris Paul. He loves to go at Dame.
True.
He loves this.
He does love that, and I think that's a national TV game too.
Yes.
If it is, that could be a 40-point Steph game.
You have no answer for Steph Curry on this team. None. Nobody does.
Norm's sitting there like...
He's going to get Norm in foul trouble.
Yeah, no, he's just... Like, what am I supposed to do with this? And right now, I'm assuming you don't disagree. Steph's the MVP right now, right?
I don't even know if it's close. I'd say I'd want to give Brad Beal more props, but
because the Wizards have been good, but I think that's more a product of the team.
I think it's the team and the coach. The coach has been great. Wes Unseld Jr. He's had a good impact on them.
Which is crazy is the last time they had a season like this, Wes Unseld Sr. was on the team.
Oh, that is kind of weird.
1975.
Outside of Steph, no, there's nobody that's close to Steph right now.
The thing is,
KD. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was saying they've got the MVP and the probable Defensive Player of the Year right now.
Right. I mean, I was going to say KD's had a great year, but his team's not been as good. Giannis is still Giannis, but they've been missing Holiday and Middleton until recently. So I just don't think there's anybody close to that right now.
That's kind of crazy. So we'll wrap it up out here. We're about 45 minutes in, but real quick, folks, we will have the mailbag pod tomorrow afternoon. So if you have questions, get them into me at Danny Marang on Twitter, at Brandon Sprague, at Jax Ramsays. You can send them, DM them, tweet at them. Or if you're not on Twitter, email me or email us, I should say, jackedramsays@gmail.com. Like, rate, review, subscribe, download the podcast wherever you get it. If you're sitting here watching on YouTube, thank you. Appreciate you. If you're watching the replay, thank you and appreciate you too. Click the subscribe button. Help us grow. Help us continue to grow. And like I said, we do have the live watch parties coming up. They will pop up in December. I will be rolling those out probably over the next week once I get everything else squared away. There will be a limit on those just because the program's still in beta, so we can only get 200 in the rooms. So we'll have that's where part of the membership stuff is going to come in from. So it'll be anybody who signs up for the initial run of the membership is going to have an opportunity to kind of get into those first 200 as we do. I think we're going to do at least 4. I'm going to hope to do probably 6 or 7 in the month of December. Me being gone for a week in Hawaii is going to kind of mess that up just a little bit. So, good game. Good fun win.
Good fun win. And a lot of takeaways, I think, from it. And, hey, Denver's always...
It could all go down the train against Denver.
Denver's a nightmare right now.
And Joey asked, are we going to do any film breakdowns? Yes, that will come further down the road. Once I get things set up, I will do some members only like rewatches with some things and show you how the stuff that I have watched and the film that I have watched and what I'm looking for and that kind of thing, just to kind of get a little bit better of understanding of what the Blazers are doing on both offense and defense, and just try to give a little peek. Those are the kind of things that I really, really, really want to do. They just take a long time to get set up and get all rights and such. So we'll have the mailbag pod dropping Monday morning, so get your questions in. Otherwise, we will catch you guys, what is it, Tuesday? We've got 2 days off, right? Sunday, Monday? Yeah. After, what was it, 6 games in 9 nights, now we get 2 games in a week. Oh, thank you, God. I appreciate that. For Brandon, I'm Danny. We'll catch you guys on the mailbag pod, and then we'll catch you Tuesday for the pregame show. Till then, take care. Talk soon.